Good morning, People's Family. Welcome to the service. And we're just going to do a few announcements for you to kind of bring you up to speed on a few things just before this amazing band kicks in. So the first thing I want to talk about is the ranch, because I've been getting a few calls.
I know.
I've had them phone and say, can we go out and camp at the ranch land? And the answer is a really simple answer. Yes. Just give us a call at the office or inform us so that we know you're going out there. Cabins are available. You can book them just by calling the office. So, yes, go out, use a cabin. It's only a suggested donation on the cabins. For the camping, it's just so dirt cheap. It's crazy. But just go out there and enjoy it. It's a beautiful piece, and it allows you to get out there, maybe even have some fellowship with some other people that just may be out there. So use it. It's your favorite thing, camping?
Absolutely, especially in the cabins.
Yeah. Yeah, that's exactly right.
Way better than a tent.
Then we have something else that's really interesting that we are starting
this week, Tuesday and Thursday. We have a stronger groups. One is for the ladies and one is for the men's. The men's is taking place this Tuesday from 7 o'clock to 8 o'clock. Ladies group is going to be Thursday, 7 o'clock to 8 o'clock here at the church on the second floor. And it's going to be a time of connecting with other people, talking, and some prayer.
Yeah, it is. So Darren and Chris Oyland are going to be leading this. Like, Chris will do the ladies group, and Darren will be doing the men's group. You know, that's the way it's supposed to work. And I hope they don't switch on us.
Right.
And so it's just going to be very just connecting. And prayer. It is prayer. So think of it as prayer and share. And that's what, it's going to make up an hour there. And it well worth your time.
Yes.
Come prepared to just kind of be fed, and then to also do some praying that, believe me, you won't be put on the spot. Come out and enjoy that.
Now, they have to register for this because, of course, we can only have so many. And after the service this morning, it will be on our website, and they can go and register in for the time on Tuesday for men, again, and Thursday for the ladies.
You know it, 15 and down, right? So take a spot and enjoy it. Just enjoy it. I also want to note that there's going to be a group meeting for the open share groups for CR. There'll be an open share men's group meeting on Wednesday, 7 to 8. Get in touch with Pastor Bob, either through the office or some way for more information if that's something that you're interested in or that you're already a part of. So that's going to be here again with all the social spacing and from 7 till 8 on the Wednesday evening. Now, there is one more thing, and that
Communion. And today we have some more slots available. If you want to, you've listened to the service and you still want to come and partake in communion, we will be here and we will be serving it for you, and just register online at the website.
Yeah, because we basically have, again, the same limitations, 15 at a time, every 15 minutes is sort of how this works. And so I look forward to seeing if you come down this afternoon. Linda and I are down here now, and we will maybe see you then. Enjoy the rest of the service. God bless you.
Yes.
Hey, good morning. Welcome to Peoples. Thanks for tuning in. We're glad you could join us. I want to shout out to our friend Patrick Giannette. Patrick, we're not doing a heavy metal song this morning, but hey, crank your speakers up anyways, because you never know who around you needs to hear the good news of Jesus Christ. As for the rest of you guys, again, thanks for joining us. Sit back, relax, enjoy the service. And it's our prayer that God does something special in your hearts this morning.
There were walls between us.
against the night, it cannot hide the light. Whom shall I fear? You crush the enemy underneath my feet. You are my sword and shield, though troubles linger still. Whom shall I fear? I know who goes before me, I know who stands behind. The God of angel armies is always by my side. The one who reigns forever, he is a friend of mine. The God of angel armies is always by my side. My strength is in your name, for you alone can save. You will deliver me, yours is the victory. Whom shall I fear? Whom shall I fear? I know who goes before me, I know who stands behind. The God of angel armies is always by my side. The one who reigns forever, he is a friend of mine. The God of angel armies is always by my side. Nothing formed against me shall stand. You hold the whole world in your hands. I'm holding on to your promises. You are faithful. You are faithful. Nothing formed against me shall stand. You hold the whole world in your hands. I'm holding on to your promises. You are faithful. You are faithful. You are faithful. I know who goes before me, I know who stands behind. The God of angel armies is always by my side. The one who reigns forever, he is a friend of mine. The God of angel armies is always by my side. I know who goes before me, I know who stands behind. The God of angel armies is always by my side. The one who reigns forever, he is a friend of mine. The God of angel armies is always by my side. The God of angel armies is always by my side. My foes are many, they rise against me, but I will hold my
Is all creation groaning? It is. Is a new creation coming? It is. Is the glory of the Lord to be the light within our midst? It is. Is it good that we remind ourselves of this?
Well, we hope you have enjoyed the music so far this morning. And what I want to do is, and what we're going to do kind of week to week from here on out, is I want to introduce you to a band member or a singer and tell you a little bit about them. You've probably seen them on the stage lots and now on your screen, so we want to help you to get to know them a little bit. I want to start this morning by introducing you to Michael Miller on the keys. And Michael's been a part of People's Church since before he can even remember. And Michael, lately, he's been working at the Reach Center while it was open. And he's going to school. He's taking all kinds of English and music courses in college. And he wants to be a career musician. So Michael, we just want to say thank you. It's good to have you on the team, and we love you. And we hope that you guys enjoy this next song.
What fortune lies beyond the stars? Those dazzling heights too vast to climb. I get so high to just hit the ground.
Good morning. I do hope that you are managing well during these times. When we go through these things, we often think, what good is there in it? And today, I want to bring some good, hopefully, to you that you can extract from the days that we're in. This is the most awesome time for you to begin a change process in areas of your life that you may have desired to have it change for many years. This is like hitting certainly the pause button, but a restart button too. A restart that says things will be different, and they're going to be different because I do want change. Change is what keeps us fresh. We need change to stay fresh as people. We need change to keep progressing and going ahead. That's why it's so hard for us to stay just indoors or away from normal contact and things that we just love to have, that kind of freshness coming into our lives. It's spring. It's fresh. We need springs in our life all the time. And this is the time that God could do some major work in your life and give you what you've maybe wanted for a long time. So I'm going to talk about some processes of change. We're going to be looking at a man from the scriptures whose name literally means cheater or schemer. And he truly was that. That's how he kind of started out and ran for most of his life, with that being sort of his doctrine that led him down every trail that he thought would lead him to the greatest successes. He was a man that did love God. He was a man that wanted to serve God, but he was a man that wanted to do it always his way and always wanted to be in control of the outcomes and the process towards those outcomes. This man's name is Jacob. His name literally does mean cheater. Nobody likes a cheater. You don't like to play a game with the cheater? Nobody likes it. But that's what this man was. He came out of his mother's womb with his twin brother Esau. His twin brother Esau was born ahead of him, and he comes out holding his foot because he's like trying to get past him. And that's sort of how it goes. He ends up cheating his brother, cheating his father to get what he wanted, even though it was a good thing that he wanted. But he didn't want to get it God's way. We can learn from him processes. Cheating is no fun. I remember my brothers telling me a story. They count themselves athletes, and I have to say they were pretty good, getting old now. A couple of them were goalies. Keith was a forward. But they were in a tournament down in Montreal, an international old-timers tournament some years ago. And it's pretty competitive stuff. And they were playing the Russian team, and it had to do with, I believe, the championship of this tournament. And one of my brothers, Lionel, was in goal, and he had injured himself. And so he wasn't able to play the third period. And they didn't know what to do, like, for this thing. They were going to throw one of their defensemen in to the goal, but they didn't, because the Russians offered their second-string guy to play for them for the third period. So what happened was, when it came down to the game, and it was proceeding to the end of the third period, the end of the game, we were actually ahead. But the Russian goalie just let goals in. I mean, literally let the goals go in so that they would win that game and that tournament. Boy, they still get hot about that. It still makes their blood boil. That's what cheating does to us. When we feel like we've been cheated. We've all been cheated, and we've probably done some cheating ourselves in different things. But this is how you change. And this is how this cheater changed. So let's take a look at him and his story. And we're going to pick it up at a key point in his story. He's already lived his life out, cheating his brother, cheating his father, cheating his uncle Laban in ways. He just was a guy that did it his way that way. But now he's coming to a point where he's had to leave where he was, where he'd ran away from his brother. His brother had threatened him, and he ran away to a far country, and there over many years became a very successful man with many herds of sheep and goats and camels. And he was, though burned his bridges there, and he had to return, and he wanted to return to his home country. And so he set back to his father's land. And he's bringing along wives, kids. In fact, the kids that would one day be the princes of Israel, of the tribes of Israel. So Jacob is on his way back from this far country he had gone to, where he had burned a bridge with his uncle Laban, and now he's got to face his brother after many, many, many years. They've had no contact. And he hears that Esau is coming to meet him with 400 men. Wow. And these would have been on horseback more than likely. And as they're coming to meet him, obviously the nerves go up. He's expecting conflict. So he sets out a plan and he sends ahead, some kind of peace offerings. The peace offerings were a bunch of his flock, and he would send servants with them, and every wave of gift would come, and it would be stating, how great Esau was, and these kinds of things. He was trying to get his brother to be appeased. The night before he was to meet his brother, he was at the river. It was actually more of a stream brook called Jabbok, and it was nighttime, and he'd already sent his family across. He'd already put them in the safest position he could. He had done what he could. Now he was alone. And a man appeared to him, an angel of God. You may even go as far to say an appearance of God in flesh. And they wrestled. Listen to this part of the story. So Jacob was left alone, and a man wrestled with him till daybreak. When the man saw that he could not overpower him, he touched the socket of Jacob's hip, so that his hip was wrenched as he wrestled with the man. Then the man said, "Let me go, for it is daybreak." But Jacob replied, "I will not let you go unless you bless me." The man asked him, "What is your name?" "Jacob," he answered. Then the man said, "Your name will no longer be Jacob, but Israel, because you have struggled with God and with humans and have overcome." Jacob said, "Please tell me your name." But he replied, "Why do you ask my name?" Then he blessed him there. So Jacob called the place Peniel, saying, "It is because I saw God face to face, and yet my life was spared." In this we have 5 parts of God's processes of change in our life. And the first starts off with crises. Crises is a way that God gets our attention. Crisis is where good things can really begin. It's not where all bad things just happen. This was a point of time that transformation came to Jacob. He had nowhere else to go. He couldn't go backwards, and going forward, he had the risk of his brother's revenge waiting for him. And he's wrestling with God. He's stuck in the middle. And when we get stuck, and when we get in crises, when we're in things that we can't control, this is the moment in time that God often is able to initiate an engine of change that maybe you've wanted for many, many years. In this particular portion, if we go back and read 32 verse 11, it says, "Save me, I pray, from the hand of my brother Esau, for I'm afraid he will come and attack me, and also the mothers with their children." He's saying, I'm in a crisis, God. I don't have control. I can't go backward. There's nowhere to go. I got to go forward. I got to meet the challenge. I've avoided I've run from everything I could in history, but I can't run anymore. God, what am I going to do? My family's at risk. They're going to attack me. And then we know later on, he then begins this wrestling match, as we read in verse 24, that this man saw that he could not overpower him. Then he touches the socket of Jacob's hip, so that his hip was wrenched as he wrestled with the man. And this is the type of thing where we see there is this wrestling match all night long. God just keeps him in neutral. God just kind of puts him into a stall. He makes him wrestle all night. Oh, God could have pinned him anytime he wanted to. Jacob was no match for God. But God needed to know whether Jacob really was going to wrestle this out. Because Jacob had always been a runner. He'd always been a retreater. He'd always been, find the alley out of here. And there was no alley. And he hangs in there and he's wrestling this man. He was in a situation he could not control. So God keeps him in this neutral position all night long in this wrestling match. And Jacob wasn't able to gain the advantage, and God wouldn't pin him. You know, we never change until we get uncomfortable, discontented, miserable, even disoriented in our life, don't know where to go, what to do. You know, the mother eagle, when she wants her eaglets to fly, she starts to make the nest uncomfortable. She starts to bring in kinds of things that poke them, and she takes the comfort out of the nest until finally they're forced to actually jump out of the nest, leave the nest, and fly. You know, we don't change until our fear of change is exceeded by the pain we are experiencing. And you may be in some pretty great pain these days, and maybe more to come. But what is God initiating? What could happen? What do you want to change? Because now could be the perfect opportunity, the most opportunist moment you've got to bring about the change that you want. Maybe it's in the economics. Maybe it's in the relational world. Maybe it's in your own ministry and surrender and service and development of who you are for God. I don't know where it would be for you, but I do know this. If you're in pain and crises, things beyond your control, God is the one you want to wrestle with. And He's going to make you use up every bit of your strength. He's going to keep you going till daybreak, till your strength is not good enough. He's going to take your strength and show you how weak you maybe are. He's going to make you use it. So what happens in this incredible story is that finally, then the man replied to Jacob, "Let me go, for it is daybreak." And this leads us to the second part of the process. Once you're in a crisis, then you have to get to this phase, commitment. Commitment. Let me go, for it is daybreak. More or less, God made him wrestle all night long. He wanted to know whether Jacob was going to be in there for the long run. Are you finally going to just hang in there? Are you going to face the music on this? Are you and I going to struggle this out? Or are you going to keep running from this match with me? You may have given your life to Christ many years ago, but still be on the run from the lordship and the service and the life devoted to God that you know He's called you to. What about your commitment? What about mine? When we go through this, are we willing to wrestle these things out, or do we just want the easy fixes? But Jacob replied, it said, "I will not let you go unless you bless me." There he is. There's the man shows up. He says, "I'm not letting you go until you bless me," because he knew he needed the blessing of God. If he had the blessing of God, he didn't need to fear his brother. He knew God was in front of him and God would be looking after it all. But he needed that blessing from God, and he was not letting go. Look, you can right now wrestle with all the things that are making you anxious and worry and fearful. All the things beyond your control right now. But I would recommend that you go wrestle with God, and you wrestle with Him until you know you got what you need, that God has blessed you. What do you need from God? Well, you need God first. You need this relationship, this intensity, this surrender, this brokenness that allows you to let God begin to take control of these things. In Genesis 32:26, He makes it very plain. He wants from us, "I will not let you go, God, until you bless me." We want change immediately, even though the problems or the issues that we face often took years for us to create. See, how God does it, though, is God often just works in layers. He's stripping layers away. And he's going to take it layer by layer, and that's how he brings change. I'm going to take this layer first. I'm going to take this layer. You want it now. It took you a lifetime to build it. God is going to be taking it off layer by layer by layer. And that's what's been happening in Jacob until this moment of wrestle. And this beautiful moment in which he finally, the man shows up and says, I am not letting go until you bless me, God. You know what? They say it takes 6 weeks for you to form new habits. More like there's a 6-week barrier you need to get through to even begin to form new habits. You got to be persistent. There's got to be some endurance, a deep desire, not running, not evading, not finding the closest alley. The third thing in this process is confession. The man asked Jacob a very key question. He said, what is your name? Now that seems like really strange. Of course, God knows his name. It wasn't about informing God of his name. It was about Jacob owning his name. It was about Jacob owning his character. So his response was very simple. One word, Jacob, he answered. Everybody knew what Jacob meant. You know, you might be feeling like everybody knows who you are, that maybe you've done these things and you've got these tags over your life, but they're only going to be as enduring and permanent as you choose them to be. But God does want us to own our name and to say, this is who I am. I'm a Jacob. Acknowledging his name was the same as acknowledging his character. Identifying clearly what you are is very integral to becoming what you want to be. And if you're not going to clearly identify what you are, you constantly want to, kind of put fog around it, keep it unclear. You know that you're a cheater, but you don't, own it. There's always an excuse. There's always somebody else to blame for it. There's always somebody else, so I don't have to take full ownership of it. There's a narrative that lets me escape, take the alley. You need to identify clearly what you are. We all do. We have these moments. If you want change, there's humility involved. There's humbleness that has to be there. We should not be into the excusing and blaming business and expect to change. That's going to kill change right away, because until we acknowledge who we are clearly, we cannot become who we are meant to be and who we can be. The fourth thing that comes out is cooperation. So Jacob, it says, called the place Peniel, saying, it is because I saw God face to face, and yet my life was spared. Every one of us must come to face with God at some time. We take all the outs, we do the avoidances, but times like this where the crisis is gripping you and it's so much out of your control. I've had so many people, I've had the privilege to be a part of this part of their journey, and it always looks the same. It's a place where they said, I really just can't do it. It's out of my control. I can't fix the marriage. I can't fix the kid. I can't fix the messes I've made. Now they're ready to cooperate. Now they're ready to meet face to face with God. And that is a beautiful moment. To know that you are going to meet with him face to face one way or another. But when by his grace he brings you to this face-to-face encounter in your life, it is the best thing that can happen. It is the change point. It is a point at which grace begins to take over. Jacob began to cooperate with God. And then God took over the work of changing him. Here's how we know. He did this immediately with him. He immediately did this with him. He renamed him. No longer are you going to be called Jacob. Your name will be Israel. Israel. Prince of God. Prince with God. God sees deeper in you than you do. He can see into your life and see what He wants to shape you into. An angel in another story appears. The angel of the Lord appears to a man by the name of Gideon and says, and he's hiding out in an in-ground cistern because he's trying to bang out a few, bits of grain to feed his family because the Midianites have taken over the land. They're raiding everything and they're killing and doing all that kind of junk. And the angel appears to Gideon and he's going to be commissioning him to be the deliverer. And he says, "Hi, thou mighty man of valor." And Gideon basically tells him, wrong address. I'm in the least tribe. I'm in the least family in the tribe. And I'm in the least of my family. But God said, you're a mighty man of valor. God sees what He has planted in seed form in your life. You may not see the seed. You may have no idea. But God comes along and says, I see a loving, caring, forgiving husband. I see a nurturing, forgiving, helpful, wise wife. I see a David in you, lad. God sees things in us, and then He wants us to cooperate with Him, to come to that point of change where we're letting Him do the renaming, and for Him to bring out of us what has always been there, to grow those seeds, to bring them into full fruition. Cooperation with God. So He renames him Israel. And then He begins the change and brings this beautiful change in him that fits the name. There's one more phase in this. Completion. The Bible says the sun rose above him as he passed Peniel. The wrestling match was over. He went back now and he's gotten ready, and now he's going to meet his brother. And now the daybreak has come and the sun is coming up over him as he goes on this very most important day to meet the brother that before the last words he has echoing in his ears is, I'm going to kill you. He knows he's coming with 400 men. And as the sun rises above him, it says he was limping because of his hip. Listen to this part. God gave Jacob this reminder, folks. He touched his hip. By touching his hip, it was a painful thing. It shrunk the sinew. So now he walked with a limp for the rest of his days. But that limp marked the change in his life. This is one of the strongest muscles in your body. And he's saying your strength will never be good enough. But my strength in you and through you can accomplish the most amazing things. I'm the only one that can bring out of you what the seeds I have put in you. He was, with every step, reminded that it would take God's power and God's strength. Also, by touching this particular part, he took away his ability to run away anymore. He was not able to run anymore. He couldn't run away. There was no alleys he could go look for. It was he, from that day on, you're going to face what's coming. You're going to face what's coming. You know, I find if you don't face what's coming, it's just there to come around to you again. Jacob could never run away from another mess in his entire life. And so as he walked that morning, and the sun rises over his head, and he's got this permanent limp. But he had never been stronger. Oh yeah, it hurt to walk. Yeah, he was tired. He had wrestled all night. But he had never been stronger. He was ready. Because he was leaning on the grace and the power of his God. Let me tell you how this winds up. All of these waves of servants with flocks, gifts, have come to Esau and his 400 men. But Esau comes when he sees his brother. He gets down and he runs and he embraces Jacob. I mean, he hugs him. His last words to his youngest brother had been, "I'm going to kill you." And here they are embracing on this field with the bleating of sheep all around them. Restoration. You know, when we get serious with God and we wrestle Him and we use crises to begin this process of change, we end up in the most beautiful situation where God has been ahead of us. And His power is working out the things that you could never have worked out in the way He wants them worked out. Because He is in control. And He was in control of that embrace that day. As those two proud men hugged each other. Esau says, "What is all this you sent ahead?" Basically, Jacob just tells him, they're just gifts. Just gifts. God has blessed me so much. And I wanted you to have these gifts. His way of saying, I just want to come home. I don't know what you're facing. I can guess. Something out of your control. Something you've run away from. Maybe for a long time. Something you refuse to face. You have schemed. You have cheated. You have tried to find the win without the rules. But the number one place of rules for us as Christians is not in our effort, but it is in our knees, humbled before our mighty God, our gracious God, our saving God, our loving God. So let this crisis be the start of change for you. Stay in the fight. Don't run from God anymore. Wrestle with Him until you have what you know you need from Him. Confess who you really are. Who are you really? It's integral to becoming what you want to be and for the seeds that He's put in you to come. Cooperate with God. Meet face to face. He's going to touch your strengths and He's going to remind you, He does with all of us, you're not strong enough. You're not the power. I am. I leave you with this scripture. Not by might, not by power, but by my Spirit, says the Lord. That's where Jacob found what he always needed. Father, I pray your blessing upon each listener. And I pray there be some confession and repentance going on right now in hearts. Just saying, oh God, I've run. Forgive me. God, I've avoided face to face. God, I've wanted it so quick change. I haven't stayed in the process. God, I've excused, I've blamed. But I'm in a position where I can't change it. I need you. So I'm going to wrestle with you, God, until I have your blessing where I need this. Bring out your seeds. Make me what you see. In your name I pray. Amen. We love you. Miss you. Have a great day. God bless.